There was no sound, huh? All right, so I'm going to start it off again. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Patriot Nation TV. I'm your host, Tim Davis, a.k.a. Professor X, your new age patriot with a 1776 attitude. Just one man, one opinion, trying to connect the dots and making sense of it all in this bizarre world. It is Friday, August 19th, 2022, half past noon. So please give a thumbs up, hit like, hit subscribe, notification bell, and welcome to my show, Patriot Nation TV. The events taking place today, where we are, doing a lot of thinking, and I want to talk about the Bush Dynasty. The Bush Dynasty and how they're playing the major role in what's going on today's political landscape. Talk about the Bush Dynasty and their legacies, how it began, where it started, and how we're suffering from it 70 plus years later from it. We're going to explore the Bush family connection that influenced the political landscape in America and abroad globally during the 20th and 21st centuries. Some call it a conspiracy theory, or is it coincidence? I don't know, you tell me. Is it a criminal cabal? Legal criminal cabal, or just misunderstood? I don't know. You be the judge. We'll just discuss where it started from the early days of the Skull and Bones era of Prescott Bush, the patriarch, and the memberships. Prescott, both George H.W., another president, William Taft. They were all bones, Skull and Bones. We're going to dive in a little bit about the Nazi connection and the collaboration. Prescott Bush was the financier of the Nazi war machine. We're going to even dive in a little bit, give it a little bit of time, maybe a few minutes on the FDR situation. When it tried recruiting his Wall Street millionaires, Prescott Bush did, and overthrow FDR with a coup. Tried recruiting General Smedley at the time, who foiled the plot. Stuff like that. And his co-conspirators, the millionaires on Wall Street, which were kind of what we see today. Even we can tie in the, like I said, this is all alleged stuff, but there's plenty of documents, documentaries, miniseries, movies. So it's, it's one man, one opinion, looking at the information brought forth, like anybody else can do. You can tie in the JFK assassination with GHWB Bush being, he was behind it, they say. It's proof that he was. CIA guy, stuff like that. Also going to go back into the financial thing with the modern day today since 1987 and the founding of it. The Carlyle Group, right? If you never heard of the Carlyle Group, look it up. Major role, it's what we see going on today. It's a private equity company, basically private bankers. They had long family ties with the bin Laden family, right? Then we're going to go into how 9/11 created what we have today with the New World Order, which Papa Bush, the one-term president, gave a speech out in 1990, September 11th, by the way. And their ties with the bin Laden family. So it's all one big thing. Then we're going to also talk about the one-term president. Yes, Papa Bush, George H.W. Bush, who's elected to one term. But realistically, if you've been following the situation that's been going on, he's now in his 8th term, the 30th year in office, right? The 30th year in office. If you consider his son Bush's 2 terms, Obama's 2 terms, Clinton's 2 terms, and so on and so on. So moving forward, maybe asking yourself, why am I discussing an American family that just happened to become a political family? Why now? Because I just can't be sitting, I can't be the only one that's sitting around who thinks we don't talk enough about the Bush Dynasty, the Bush policies. I can't be the only one sitting around thinking about stuff like that, and who thinks We don't talk enough about it, or about how the father of one U.S. president and the grandson of another president actually tried to instigate a fascist coup against our own government and FDR. You know, personally, one man, one opinion, based on material I gathered by investigating certain articles, notable articles, opinions, watching documentaries and stuff like that. I came to the conclusion that I believe the events and issues that are plaguing this world today, that we are facing as a nation and globally, that we are facing as a nation and globally, both domestically, internationally, directly relates, is encouraged and influenced by the Bush administrations, 41 and 43. Their policy decisions have gotten us to where we are today. So where and when did this all begin? Where and all did this begin? You gotta go to the beginning, I guess, right? That's what they say. Talk about Prescott Bush, the patriarch. It's as far back as I'm going to go with it. You can go a little further back. It's as far back as I'm going to go with it. So who is Prescott Bush? He was a U.S. senator from 52 to, I believe, 63, something like that, around that time. Prescott Bush also has a son who had a son, George H.W. Bush. He was the head of the CIA. He was a vice president. He was the president. He was even a combat World War II vet. And he produced a grandson for Prescott Bush, George W. Bush. He became a governor of Texas. He was a president of the United States. Then he had another son, the grandson, Jeb Bush, who was a governor of Florida, and another grandson who was a head security of the World Trade Center. Right? And this man accomplished all this after the fact that he tried pulling a coup. You know, his crime was trading with the enemy. And the punishment, I guess we're seeing it more and more in America. We reward traitors, but his punishment was he was elected senator representing Connecticut. I believe it was from 1952 to January of 63. You know, the late U.S. Senator Prescott Bush was a director and shareholder of companies that profited from their involvement in the financial backers of Nazi Germany. Look it up. Prescott Bush was a director that was personally involved with the financial architects of Nazism and the war machine that Nazi produced. His business dealings, by the way, which they continued until his company's assets were seized in 1942 under the Trading with the Enemy Act. And, you know, Bush and his Wall Street millionaire buddies, they literally plotted to overthrow the president. When FDR started messing with their money, they began a coup, right? And this is the same Prescott Bush who did this, who's the grandfather. This is why it's relevant. A lot of things will be relevant towards us. So at the end of the video, the show, you'll understand it. So Prescott Bush, the grandfather of GW, led a plan to overthrow FDR and implement a fascist dictatorship in the U.S. based around an ideology of Mussolini and Hitler. Ask yourself this, does this sound familiar under G.W. Bush? After 9/11, Homeland Security, NSA domestic spying, TSA, militarized police, torture, indefinite detention, so on and so on. This all came with the Patriot Act after 9/11. Mussolini, Hitler, look at the policies, look how it all happened. So you got to ask yourself, where did this all begin? Prescott Bush. So what do we know about Prescott Bush? Not too much, right? They try to hide it. But he was a bonesman, you know. So we're going to dive into the secret history of the Skull and Bones Society a little bit and the powerful men behind it. Right? With powerful members and mysterious rituals, the Skull and Bones Society has long been associated with sinister conspiracy theories. Legend even has it that in 1918, under cover of darkness, Yale President Prescott Bush dug up the grave of Geronimo. Bush, along with several co-conspirators, took the skull and two bones and the famed Apache leader back to Yale in New York headquarters of one of America's most mysterious secret societies. Throughout history, some of the most prominent American figures have been bonesmen, handpicked by Yale's undergraduate class, selected to join the ranks of elite students. In addition to the Bushes, Prescott, George H.W., and W. followed in Prescott's footsteps during their time at the university. Members have included hundreds of government officials, such as former Secretary of State and presidential candidate John Kerry, as well as members of the entertainment industry, such as actor Paul Giamatti. Right? At different points throughout history, bonesmen have had control over the fortunes of the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, and the Fords. They've also had members rise through the ranks and obtain high offices in the Council of Foreign Relations, powerful media groups such as The Time, CNN, and of course, 3 presidents of the United States, William Taft, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush. As a matter of fact, if you recall, in the 2004 presidential election, both Republican and Democrat nominees, John Kerry and George W. Bush, were Skull and Bone members. Despite the theories and accusations surrounding them, bonesmen have remained notoriously silent about what goes on in the inner sanctums. Both Kerry and Bush were asked about their life and their pledges as bonesmen during the 2004 election, but neither would give a comment. They even joked about it. "It's a secret," said Kerry, adding nothing more. Then Bush went off to say, "It's so secret, I can't say anything more about it." Right? I mean, it could be that, it could be that the members of the society really are plotting to take over the world, or it could be that there's actually nothing going on inside the tomb, worth noting. And the members simply enjoy themselves and enjoy the subject of insane conspiracy theories and other theories. Like I said, there's hundreds of books, documentaries, television specials have been released in an attempt to learn more about the inner workings of the Skulls and Bone Society. But it seems that the only way to learn anything worthwhile is becoming a member yourself, and that it's secret. Some claim that the group is behind the Kennedy assassination, that they were responsible for creating a nuclear bomb, that they are sponsored and influenced by the Illuminati, and even that they control entire Central Intelligence Agencies, CIA. However, the theories, as off-kilter as some may sound or be, or appear, aren't really that off base when considering the members. Right? Consider the members. George H.W. Bush, Prescott Bush, George W. Bush, William Taft, guys like that, John Kerry, all New World globalists. Other ties. Clinton has ties to it with Hillary, Obama with Michelle. They all went to Yale. So this brings me to the other thing, JFK, and the assassination of JFK. I'm not going to go too far into it. I just want to read off a couple of things that he said in speeches 5 months to a week before his life was taken. So you got to, connecting it with the CIA at that time, George H.W. Bush was a CIA guy. So just a little quotes, little things from speeches like the president and the free press speech that he gave. JFK said this to the world. He exposes the Ruthless Conspiracy. He actually says, "We are oppressed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which is conscripted vast human and material resources into building a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Right? Also in that speech, he came out and said, there is a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot. That was 7 days before his ultimate end. Also, you got to remember 5 months before the ultimate end, he gave Executive Order 11110, where President Kennedy issued the executive order that would give American currency back to the people by printing money based on silver standard and take away the power of the Federal Reserve banking cartel. Many argue that this was the biggest reason for, having him go to sleep for a long time, for eternity. So when JFK talked about secret societies, the military-industrial complex, splintering the CIA, ending the Federal Reserve, the deep state we hear about today, had a play in that, I guess. You can say yes or no, but it's just what it is. Just remember JFK pledges to splinter the CIA into thousands of pieces, end the Federal Reserve's monopoly on money, and stop Operation Northwoods from happening, all while his brother was investigating the mafia as Attorney General. And they have us believing that one gunman did this based on the Warren Commission. What do you want to believe? You want to believe the Warren Commission? Okay, you go with the Warren Commission. If you want to go with the alleged theories, no, it's just you, one man, one opinion. I'm just explaining how I'm coming to the conclusion of this podcast show. Goes back to finances again. The Carlyle Group. We'll dive into this a little bit. The Carlyle Group. The Carlyle Group, what is it? It's a global alternative asset management company. It's a private global banking company. So what does the Carlyle Group invest in? It's an private equity asset group. What do they invest in? Some of the investments that Carlyle Group does is primarily in the following industries: aerospace, defense and government services, financial services, industrial real estate, technology, telecommunications and media, and transportation. Right? And this is what gives me to the one term, right? I'm not going to go too far into it because it's going to take too much of the time of the show. Just research that, the Carlyle Group. That brings me to the one-term president. That's in his 30th year. He had ties to that also. The Iran-Contra that got hushed up back in 86, 87. If you're old enough, you remember the Iran-Contra. The Carlyle Group was there back then. That's when it started. Also, he served on the board. He was like a president or a treasurer or something. So the person I'm talking about, obviously, is George H.W. Bush. He's the straw that stirs the drink. And I'm just going to say a couple of things about him. You got to go back to where he really started as a CIA guy in the 60s and 70s, I think it was early 74, maybe 75, 73. He gave a speech. And listen to this, what he says, and then see what's going on the media today. It's like Operation Mockingbird. Maybe I'll post I did a video on Mockingbird. I'll put it up behind me somewhere. Listen to what he says. This is in the speech. It is not fashionable in these days of tearing down our institutions to say, trust me. Yet Americans have to have faith and trust in some degree, or none of our governmental systems will work. Listen to me, media. Listen to what these people are saying. But I'm going to cut through all the other nonsense. I'm just going to get right to the chase. The other 9/11. George H.W. Bush in 1990, on September 11th, 1990, gave the New World Order speech. The one where he says, out of these times, a new world order can emerge. This is what he said, right? He also said if the American people ever find out what we have done, they would chase us down in the streets and lynch us. It was on a hot mic back in June of '92 when the White House press corps, Sarah McLendon, was interviewing him. It's all caught. It's all caught. It's not deniable. But he was the beginning of it, of the being blatant, the New World Order. Give us that term, and I say this is his 8th term and 30th year because after he didn't win an election, both his terms followed the same policies. His son did, Obama did. Those three men, Obama, Bush Jr., and Clinton, if people realized for the 4 years, almost 30 years that those three men were in office, they helped create wars, economic recessions, and put Americans against Americans while arming and increasing the police state, the federal government. For 8 years, the left cheered on Clinton as he gave himself unprecedented executive powers. They cheered him on. Oh, the economy's doing good. Meanwhile, he's signing off our sovereignty to these globalist elites. For 8 years, the right cheered as Bush gave himself unprecedented executive powers. Now that was the war on us, the people. For 8 years, the left cheered on Obama, gave him unprecedented executive powers as he took Bush's policy, Junior's, put it on steroids, NDAA Act, et cetera, et cetera. Now here we are in 2022. It really started in 2026. Now both the left and the right are grasping in horror because Trump, who came in for 4 years, had too much executive power. They're changing the rules now, right in this house, making things up as they go, and every other president before him was never questioned. You know, say he had too much power, and he has power, not like it's ridiculous. When will people learn this cycle? Again, it's alleged. People have different theories and interpretations of it, but I believe it was one of the biggest. I believe it was one of the biggest white collar crimes in American history. 9/11. I'm not really going to say what I believe, but I lean one way or another. But some say that the U.S. launched a military attack on its own soil. Some say they financed the attack. Some say it was just freak of attack that Muslims from Saudi Arabia planned a plot in Afghanistan, flew out of Iraq to attack us. You know, it's up to you. I'm just putting it out there. And the American press assisted in this whole cover-up and has been promoting ever since this New World Order. And so how did this Bush's New World Order come about? Like I said, it started back in Skull and Bone days of Prescott Bush. It was passed down generation. It's generational passed down. Tyranny, globalization. So how's Bush New World Order became Trump's no New World Order? Right? Remember, President Trump took America first to the United States. You know, the American policy for the United States to the United Nations, and said, we reject globalism. As the radical left globalist or domestic liberal globalist here in America, the rhinos, the neocons, they all rallied against Trump and Judeo-Christian civilization and values. They did this. Trump's continued at the United Nations. Said, if you want freedom, take pride in your country. The future does not belong to the globalist. The future belongs to the patriots, you and me. He also went on and said, we will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism. Right? And to sum up what he did, why they hate him today, is he also said, there is no global anthem, no global currency, no certificate of global citizenship. We pledge allegiance to one flag, and that flag is the American flag. And that's why we see today what's going on. From the CIA, FBI, everything got militarized, became a totalitarian police state, all under the guise of safety and security. under the, under the illusion of safety and security. This is the Bush's legacy. There's a lot of documents out there that make them sound like a great family. I'm going to be the first one to admit I voted for Bush 1 and 2. I was young. I was in late teens, early 20s, and early 30s for them. And I got, sounded good with everything. But as you get older, you realize it's a criminal cabal. So I'm going to leave it with this. Believe nothing on NBC, ABC, NBC, Wall Street, none of it. Believe it's obsolete. Believe none of it. Just research everything. Research what I say. You can research what I say. I can only show you the door. I can only show people the door. But you're the ones that have to walk through it. You guys are the ones that have to walk through it. So that's my little take today about the Bush Dynasty and the legacies. And I believe that we have a lot of problems because of them. And it goes further, other families involved. But anyway, please hit like, hit subscribe, notification bell. If you want to see future shows like this, leave a comment, and we'll move forward. So, like I said, I'm Tim Davis, a.k.a. Professor X. One man, one opinion, trying to connect the dots, make sense of it all. Signing out. Peace. God bless. God bless you. God bless America. I'll talk to you soon.